Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Sunday to you. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend to you and your family. We're taking a look here, of course, at Bitcoin. Once more, I'll take a look at a few other altcoins as well that are, some of them are taking off, got a lot of requests for that. But for the moment, obviously, we focus on this and just help understand kind of where we're at, best practice, big picture, the whole 9 yards. So if you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade, hope you can learn something here today. And obviously, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a website, link in the description below. I provide you with a trading academy, community, and signal group. Essentially just sharing my signals for every single trade that I take. We've been taking massive profits on some short positions recently, as you can see why. Furthermore, though, I have a trading academy that actually teaches you to become a better trader, everything that I know. And that also factors in with the risk tolerance, emotional management, a lot of things that are not really talked about. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look here at Bitcoin and see what's going on. So we're obviously seeing a pretty red day here today. No surprise there. There's some profits getting taken essentially from the week. The week was a very green week, all things considered. In fact, Bitcoin from bottom to top in 5 or 6 trading days, we're looking at about 20%. So that's pretty substantial. So obviously they're still chewing on that fat on the bone, whatever analogy you want to use. Essentially, it's taking the profits here today, and a lot of that has to do with a couple of things. So let's talk about that. As first things first, we've got a double Doji candle here. And as I mentioned yesterday in my analysis, if we do see a Doji candle close today, which was yesterday, then we might want to be careful and not take any long positions. I recommended no long or even short positions, honestly, at that point, based on the fact that we had no confirmation due to the fact that we have this double Doji candles. Because if you look at this previously, same exact thing happens. Anytime you see a double Doji, for the most part, there is a reversal to follow. It's a pretty high converting signal, all right? And basically just tells you that the price is unwilling to pass a specific key level resistance, in this case 21,700. So again, just little tips, tricks to add to your portfolio essentially, or your bag of tricks, and help you understand certain things to look for, and those kind of patterns are important. Furthermore, too, we're getting rejected off of 50 on the RSI. Not having broken through that was a pretty sure sign that we're going to stay below. So unfortunately, ever since April 6th, I think it was, we've been under 50 on the RSI the entire time. So that really just tells us that we are more so in a bearish territory, even still. Granted, even if we were to be above 50 on the RSI, that wouldn't necessarily mean we're bullish. It would imply, though, that we're above a key level resistance. And in this case, right around 21,700, you could even round up and say 22,000 or 21.5. That range, that little zone, is essentially a strong resistance channel, okay? So something to be mindful of there. We're not going to look at the monthly or the weekly here because it's the same narrative essentially at this point. Not much has really happened just yet. In the grand scheme of things, we've still got plenty of time for the monthly close, and we're under some key level resistances on the weekly. Not much to really kind of talk about there. I think it's more important to understand the macro behavior here right now, or question the micro, where we have lower and smaller time frames to identify these shifts in momentum. Okay, because as we talked about yesterday, just briefly, I touched on the fact that we are making lower lows and lower highs on the 4 hour. So until that changes, there's a great chance that the price action could continue lower. Granted, we also had basically this pennant type of pattern, or ascending type of wedge, where it came from here, and a lot of times it'll come to the upside. It'll break to the upside. But again, that's granted you don't have a strong resistance channel that we've been stuck in for some time. All right, so we've been here for about 3 weeks now, stuck under 21,500 effectively in most cases. Yes, we peaked up to about 22,700, 22.5, right in that range, but it still never got a one-day candlestick close above 21.7. And that, again, based on Fibonacci retracement here, is essentially a strong resistance and or support level. Right now, working definitely as a strong resistance. Okay, so that's why it's important you look at larger time frames and you work your way down. Because if you just look at this here, for example, you could see something that looks appealing, such as a pennant type of pattern. And if you put all your cards into one basket for that one thing, that's the problem, right? So again, the macro is not bullish at all. We got to recognize that. So in the sense, the fact of the matter here is that Bitcoin, the likelihood of Bitcoin just emerging to 30,000 is very low. It needs to spend more time here and build a volume base. That being said, we can see on the 4 hour here that we have this smooth digression, so to speak, to the lower. We're also now peaking under 50 on the RSI. So if we look at that, we can kind of see here, we're above 50 on the RSI for the last 6 trading days, and now we're down below. So right here, when the price action jumped pretty significantly from 19 to 20,000, that's the point in which we broke over 50. And as you can see, the price action has continued overall essentially higher. But now that it's digressing and it's underneath 50 for the moment, again, I say for the moment because this candlestick hasn't closed yet, but once it does, it'll confirm that we are essentially bearish on the shorter term, this midterm essentially, right where the 4-hour time frame is kind of telling us that we got some bearish divergences. We also had a MACD divergence yesterday I mentioned that we want to pay attention to, but it's not a main reason to take a trade, so to speak. So, in truth, no trade is a good trade when you have no confirmation. We didn't have confirmation yesterday. So again, as a community, we essentially waited, even though we had a couple of short positions open from 2 days ago when I got the signal, and we basically saw that the price action got rejected here at about 22.5. We took a position short at 22.3, and we've been riding the profits ever since on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, that happened because it was overextended, though, right? That was the main reason why I took that trade. And at this point here, you can see that the price action has continued to digress ever since, had some difficulty passing that plane. So let's talk a little bit about the cloud and kind of see where we're at. Because yesterday we were kind of traveling within the cloud, and I said that's more positive than negative. However, the conversion line was below the baseline at that point, and of course, the lagging span was within the price action during that time. So a lot of times when you see that happen, it's like there's no confirmation either up or down, which is why I did recommend taking no position, no stance, so to speak, because the fact we didn't have a definitive direction. Now that we're underneath this here, we can see that we do have a definitive direction, and that is likely down. So is there more potential for downside right now? And in short, the answer is yes. We've got a lot of profits that can be taken from, just say all the way up from the 5th of July, and that was basically Tuesday. So if you look at this here, this is Tuesday through Friday, right there. So we take the inverse of that. We could very well see that this next Tuesday through Friday come down to a very similar level. So there's a great chance we'll probably see 19,800 or 20,000 retested as a, just kind of as a baseline here, or essentially a next key level support. What we don't want to see is the price action come any lower than that, of course, because then we'd definitely be establishing lower highs and lower lows. While we are still establishing lower highs and lower lows on the hourly, it still hasn't translated over to the macro yet. In other words, on the daily, we still have higher highs and potential higher lows. Or no, the inverse, higher lows and potential higher highs. So again, in this case here right now, the 1 hour time frame is basically telling us that we are in a position where a short position is much more viable than a long if you were to take a position. Not recommending you do, of course, it's been only ever extended to the downside. In fact, let's take a look at that. We can see we hit a 9 here recently. Consolidated sideways, now we're down to a 7. So better case scenario here, we've got 2 more hours of continuation of the downside before we hit our tentative bottom for the moment, and we consolidate sideways. So if all goes well, the price comes down to maybe 20,600, or just kind of stays in this range between 20.6 and 21. And then effectively tomorrow, Monday, we see some kind of shift in momentum. Now that shift in momentum will likely continue to progress downwards, but on the same accord, there's no confirmation that we have the price is going to continue to go lower. Okay, we just know that the overall sense of things is down. There's a strong resistance at 21.5, so why wouldn't 20,000 be retested? It makes sense that it would. So again, just kind of big picture here. Again, we're not in dire straits, we're not in terrible shape here, but we are tentatively making higher lows on the daily, right? So still some positive, but it's a stretch. Okay. Again, the realistic nature here is that we're underneath the 50-day set moving average. We are stuck underneath some key level resistances, and at this point, we don't have much to rely on. We do have the 20-day set moving average potentially going to work as a support at 20,600. It was almost tested here today. So if we break below that, I would say 20,000 is more likely. Again, no guarantees on that, but it does make sense based on the fact that we have this natural, up during the week and then natural down the following week. Up 1 week, down the next. And that's just kind of the standard little rinse and repeat thing that a lot of whales or just retail investors are doing. Just kind of, buying high, selling low, buying low, selling high, just that natural, normal trading pattern. We're stuck in a range right now for the moment. There's no other way around it. So until we break free from this range, which I think we still need more time, because you think about this, the price actually has to go sideways and effectively break this descending channel. Once we break that channel and we're cleanly above for I would say at least a week, maybe even longer, then we're going to be in a position where, hey, okay, the likelihood of Bitcoin recovering from here is actually greater. But until we break through that, we're still in bearish territory, and it's best to continue to train yourself that we are not out of the woods yet. Okay, so that's the important thing. The overall mindset, you shouldn't be stuck on one direction or another, but we need to acknowledge that the overall direction is still down. Okay, that's what I want to try to drive home here. So in that sense, is 22, 23, or 24,000 still a likely retest? Yes, of course, but we need to establish a stronger, a strong higher low here in order to effectively bounce, and that could come all the way down to 20, or hopefully just bounce off this key level Fibonacci retracement level at about 20,000.6 and effectively bounce up higher. There's a possibility of that. Just note, we are essentially overextended to the downside in the immediate relative near future, or recent past, I guess you could say. It's because we hit a 9, we're almost at a second 9 on TD sequential. So it's really telling us that we're hitting this exhaustive state to the downside, and we shouldn't expect it to come down much lower today. I think overall, 20,000 is still very much another potential retest. So we'll take it from there. We'll figure it out tomorrow. But for now, hope you learned as much as you could, and obviously consider becoming a community member if you want to become a better trader. Once again, I got Trading Academy, community, and signal group. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Message me direct if you have any questions regarding my discounts I offer for third world countries and military. Thank you so much for your service. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.